Welcome back to Getting Set Up with the Wi-Fi Pineapple Pager. In this video, we're going to dive into Recon. So let's just go ahead and jump right in from the dashboard and choose our little binocular icon, Recon. So when you first open Recon, you are going to be greeted with these graph views for these different elements. So the first one is packets per second, and this is just showing you live in the Wi-Fi airspace how much traffic is going on. And you'll notice that these different bar graphs are going to be different colors based on the amount of data that is going on. And I can see in real time 135, 187 packets that this Wi-Fi Pineapple Pager is viewing. If I cycle over to the right, you'll see this is a graph of new devices, new access points, and new clients. I'm going to come back to our packets per second, and if you see it says settings, press A to open those settings. We'll see that we have a couple of choices here for Recon Audio. So what is Recon Audio? It is your ability to listen to the surrounding Wi-Fi airspace, which is really cool because using this, you can get attuned to things that are actually happening live and start to both hear them and see them simultaneously, and it's really fun. So check this out. Under audio source, I can choose which source, and it can be audio based on what page I'm on, or if I can I can lock it to specific ones. I'm interested in packets per second, so I'll choose that. And then our audio mode, we have one that sounds like a Geiger counter, like a fax machine, pulses, even, tones. Let's just go ahead and put it on this fax one because it's retro cool, but the Geiger's also really, really sweet. Play with them both. And I have now the ability to set that to background. Let's go ahead and hear it first. So I'll just turn on Recon Audio and go back. And you hear that? Hold that to my mic. That is, in real time, the packets per second that are happening in this Wi-Fi airspace here. So if I choose this again, I can change the audio mode from fax to Geiger. So you can get a little feel for that. It's kind of nice. We can also come in here and say background the audio. Now I'll hear it in all of the menus. I can go all the way back to the dashboard. You know, I can go into settings and I still hear that Geiger. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and turn off Recon Audio. One other thing I want to mention is that you can keep the screen alive. Now, of course, this is going to be costly both in terms of battery and in terms of heat. So we've got a little warning there for you, but that is how you can keep the screen awake. The next bit of settings here in Recon are to save to the Recon database. That is by default going to happen. Maybe you want to be ephemeral, you don't have to, you can turn that off. Recording a PCAP. So a PCAP file is basically a recording of all of the airspace, all of the packets, management frames, clear to sends, all of the data frames that are happening in that airspace. You can quickly and easily create a PCAP file just by checking that box, and that will end up in your loot directory that you can then download over SCP or even from the virtual pager interface. And then lastly, our Wiggle mode. Wiggle is such a great site. That is like the go-to for ward driving. It has a listing of basically all of the access points that anybody has ever seen and submitted, and you can do the same. I would love to see, you know, Wi-Fi Pineapple Pager people getting on that leaderboard, and we've made it easier than ever if you have one of the GPS mods that you can then just configure that, check this box, and now you too are ward driving and creating Wiggle compatible data. All right, now that's just the visualizations and I guess auditory-ness of Recon, but really I want to interact with the Wi-Fi airspace. So I'm going to do this very delicately. I'm going to have to blur some things because obviously I'm in my studio, but I'll show you if I then go to the right a few times, past clients, I now have a listing of the nearby access points. Okay, and so if you're familiar with Wi-Fi Pineapple, the Recon view should feel very familiar. And a couple of things that I really want to point out here. We have what page we're on. We're on page number 10. Left and right arrows will page through those, whereas up and down will select different elements from it. Okay, so now I'm on page 1. If I go up to the top, you'll see I have now selected this little icon that says, refresh, and hit A. Now this is live, and you'll actually start to see this data moving around in real time as you are aware of the things that are in your surroundings, with the highest signal strength and in this time interval near you. So with that said, as I drill into this menu, I wouldn't want things moving around as I'm trying to navigate the menu. So as I come down into it by pressing the down arrow or with that selected pressing A just to pause it, it will then snapshot that moment in time from when I pause so that I can actually interact with all of these things that are moving around real quick. Now, if I choose this access point by then pressing A, it will give me all of these details along the left about this particular access point. So I've got the SSID, I've got the MAC address, its signal, encryption, frequency, channel, packets, the number of clients, and then on the right, very similar to from the settings, we have all of these different elements that we can go through to interact with it. So connected clients, I can choose that, and this will show me a list, again, live, of the different clients that are connected to this access point. And as I scroll down, it pauses that list so that I can actually look at these. And you'll notice that in addition to the MAC address and the RSSI and such, I can actually see the OUI. And that is the first 3 octets of that MAC address, which allows me to know what vendor it is that made this device. And so, your big names, your Googles and Hewlett-Packards and Xerox and all of those will show up in this list. And then I can more easily identify the devices, the clients that are connected to that access point. So, and then from within there, I can even drill into any particular client and then run, say, a targeted payload against that client. I can add them to my allow filters or deny filters from PineAP, and I can even deauth or deauthenticate them, spoofing a deauthentication packet from the legitimate access point to this client if they are indeed within our scope of engagement for our lawful audit. Now, going back to our list, I'll see back on the access point page, I have, similar to the client, I have targeted payloads specific to that access point. I can add the SSID to my filters for PineAP. I can add it to the PineAP pool, which will become much more apparent when we dive into PineAP. And as well, we can deauth all of the clients from that access point, again, if that's within the scope of engagement for our lawful audit. So going back, I can just return to the main dashboard. I can see my packets per second. I can press A to turn on Recon audio and hear it. It's beautiful, it's wonderful, and I can't wait to hear what you guys think. And this is just the very beginning of Recon with the Wi-Fi Pineapple pager. All right, I hope to see you in the next one.